French Wrestling Alliance, where we help you wrestle better so that together we can keep real wrestling alive. Thank you for watching or listening wherever you get your podcasts. Really appreciate it. Let's go ahead and talk about. Well, let's do the whole like announcements and stuff. Let's get that out of the way first. Because I think I forgot to do one thing. I have a video that I want to show you, but I need to download it so that it can be. Ah, hold on. Because we're going to be talking about this really cool video, or actually a little clip of a video, and I have to make sure that I load it up here first. I totally forgot to do that, so let me just do that right now while, okay. So it'll load up, and then, but with that being said, I teach at UCLA, the university here in Los Angeles. Those classes are going to be coming up pretty soon. Actually, this coming Monday is not the start of the quarter for us, but we're going to be doing a series of different like seminars and stuff that are free. They're promo seminars just to kind of give people an introduction of different things. I'm going to do 2 catch wrestling ones and then 2 Sanda kickboxing ones. So the catch wrestling ones, I'm going to be going over, of course, catch wrestling fundamental stuff, but also some popular like submissions that are trending right now in grappling, like Achilles lock. It's been really gaining popularity recently. Like it's been over a few years, we're starting to see like this technique that's considered like this white belt level leg lock, just submitting black belts in all kinds of competitions, whether it be in Brazil or in CJI the other week. And so we'll be going over stuff like that. But if you don't have access to the university, you can always train with us at Fight Science MMA. So I teach there every Thursday night, 8:30 p.m. So that'll be later tonight, actually. You don't have to join the gym. You can just drop in and train with us. It's Fight Science MMA on Washington Boulevard in the Mid-City area of Los Angeles. They call it Mid-City because it's in the middle of the city. So it should be easy to find. And then, if you want to train with us online, we have the CWA Academy on our website, catchwrestlingalliance.com. We also have one-off courses there. Or if you want to just not do any of that and just support us, you can always become a member on our YouTube channel. Everything's much appreciated. On our YouTube channel, we have a bunch of extra videos for members. So, there's a bunch of extra things for you there, and just any help is appreciated. And then one last thing, if you're really good at teaching, or if there's something that you're an expert at and you want to teach online, we have a code for Kajabi. That's the online platform where you can do coaching. You can also have your courses, your blog, your podcasts, your newsletter, all that stuff on there. So check that out. It'll just help the channel, so it'll be much appreciated. All right. Okay, so I think those are all the announcements. So feel free to ask any questions at any time, but let's go ahead and go over the main topic for today. So recently, you know how I like sumo, and we often do sumo like breakdowns on our channel for like really cool techniques that happen in the pro sumo matches that take place in Japan. Well, one sumo wrestler from the Ukraine, actually, should we just say Ukraine? I don't think we had to add the. His name's Aonishiki. He's been doing very well at the top level of sumo competition in Japan. So he grew up doing a lot of amateur wrestling. So probably since he's from Ukraine, he's probably been doing freestyle, maybe Greco, and so he was on the Sumo Kaboom YouTube channel's podcast. They interviewed him, and they mentioned that he has a judo background, and if the judo is what is helping him do so well in pro sumo, because this guy, he's not Japanese and he's not Mongolian, but he's still doing very well and getting a lot of takedowns, doing a lot of really great takedowns. I think I've done a breakdown of him recently. He's just been really outstanding. And, again, like I said, he's not a Mongolian. So they asked him, what was the secret? Was it the judo? So they heard that he's done some judo in the past, right? And then they ask him, "Oh, what's helping you do so well in sumo? Is it the judo or the wrestling?" So I'll go ahead and play the clip. It's only like a few seconds long. So, but the only thing is, I want to let you know that those of you who are watching, the he speaks in Japanese, and they have subtitles. So the interviewers are speaking in English, and he speaks in Japanese. So I changed the video. I did a little voiceover. So I read out the the subtitles, because just in case you're listening on, like, some podcast platform, and you can't see, then then you wouldn't be able to hear or read what he's saying. So I just do a voiceover for that. So that's my voice. It's not his voice. And yeah, he's not speaking English. He's speaking Japanese. So here we go.
You have a strong judo background. How do your judo skills help your sumo?
I did judo a little bit when I was younger, but I did mostly wrestling. The wrestling techniques are coming in very handy. Hopefully in the sumo as well, but not really much of the judo.
Interesting.
So it was that quick. So not very long at all, but he kind of lays out what I would suspect. And so let's kind of break it down. So unfortunately, they didn't do follow-up questions. I think the very next question was about, like, oh, how's life, your work-life balance, and this and that. So it's a good interview where they ask a mix of questions of from their viewers, and a mix of and they also ask some of their personal questions. So it's cool. And you should totally watch it. And I linked it below. But with that being said, just like I think it was a few weeks ago, we had a show about the Red Ranger, right? Talking about catch wrestling, where it's a really good base for a wide variety of martial arts. So that, I believe, is the best foundation, especially if you're doing like different grappling arts. So in this case, Aonishiki is doing professional sumo wrestling in Japan. And so, like, why would I say wrestling would be better than judo for sumo wrestling, right? So there's many reasons, and one of the main reasons, actually, I want to compare it to something that the jiu-jitsu guru John Danaher said recently about jiu-jitsu. So it says in jiu-jitsu, you have the two competitors, right? And they both agree to certain positions. So what they agree to is, like, one person will be on top and then one person will be on bottom. They're both facing each other, but they both kind of agree subconsciously. They're not thinking about, like, oh, I'm gonna get on top this time and you can be on bottom, this and that. No, it just kind of happens, and it's something that's kind of just accepted, right? So taking that to judo, what is kind of accepted without anyone talking about it is that since it's a throw heavy art, right? You can win by just doing a clean throw, right? Then that means both of the competitors agree to be more upright. So they're not in a wrestling stance. They're not in an amateur wrestling stance, right? So, or even a catch wrestling, they're not in a lower stance. And that, like I said, or actually just last week in my class at Fight Science, one of the students asked, oh, like one of the newer students, right? And so he must have been grappling with some judo people. So he asked me, like, oh, how do I, like, shut down, like, judo? And I said, just be in a wrestling stance from the beginning and don't stand upright. Then they can't get underneath you. They can't take your center of gravity. So, or they would have to try very hard to elevate you, to raise you up so that you are standing more upright. And so if you don't agree to do judo, right? So like with going back to John Danaher's thing, so if you don't agree to like be either on top or on bottom facing each other, that like you're not doing their game. All right. So, and that's one of the reasons why like catch wrestling or like wrestling, even just like amateur wrestling, can get you so far or can get you very far in like judo, grappling, like no-gi. And in this case, in Aonishiki's case, amateur wrestling is getting him very far in professional sumo wrestling in Japan because how does wrestling or how does sumo wrestling matches start? If you don't know, they're in like a 4-point stance. They're basically quad potting, so they're in a very low stance. And a lot of times, once the match starts, they're not trying to get upright really fast, right? They're trying to drive into their opponent very fast. So that is much more wrestling like. So I know Aonishiki's not doing catch wrestling or whatever he's doing. He grew up doing amateur wrestling. And like I said, I'm assuming it's probably either freestyle or Greco-Roman, but just having these styles really helps him. He's doing a lot of really cool takedowns. He's done a lot of the knee blocks that I personally like. I think we must have done a breakdown. I'm pretty sure we did a breakdown of Aonishiki because I think in the last sumo tournament, I think he did that knee tap like a couple times at least. So it's becoming a thing for him, like one of his go-to takedowns. And so that wouldn't even be legal in judo. So or maybe now I think they changed the rules where you can actually touch someone's legs or whatever. But before recently, it's not even something that they would do. So a relatively modern judo player might not even be so familiar with those types of leg grab techniques or knee taps and stuff like that. So, and then also, again, it's more of an upright game, like upright stance game. So sumo is actually a lower stance game, right? You start off in a very low stance, and then you try to either push the person out, or even try to like slap them, but still you want to keep a very strong foundation so you can't be moved, or so you can't be pushed out, or you can't be thrown down, right? So Aonishiki is able to like stick with the lower stance and get his opponent down. He's done a lot of great like highlight reel takedowns. So it's really cool to see like what he's doing. He's definitely going to be one to watch, as he continues to compete because he's relatively new. So I'm sure he's got plenty of years left to compete. And he said later in the interview that he wants to just get stronger, get better. And he's already well above average. Like he's quite excellent. So hopefully he just keeps improving. And it's really cool that he clarified that, because I think a lot of people who are fans of, say, like sumo, then maybe they're just big fans of anything Japanese, so they might just assume that, oh, he did some judo, so that's what makes him so good at sumo wrestling. Well, these are two kind of different games. So the stance is way different in sumo than judo. So the wrestling is going to help. And then going back to the other video that we had from the Red Ranger, actually I can play. Actually, I have it here. So why don't we go back to that? So you can show kind of. So basically, Aonishiki said wrestling helped him in pro sumo more than judo, but Red Ranger is going to basically say that catch wrestling will probably help you even more. But let's go ahead and play that clip.
The reason why I think catch wrestling is such the superior form of submission grappling in the vein of things like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is because you're kind of doing three different sports at one time. Because all catch wrestling is is just like Olympic or collegiate wrestling with submissions. Arm bars, neck cranks, toe holds, chokes, everything that you would get at a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And the cool thing about that is that all you have to do is not go for the submission, not go for the catch. And then, you or your child could be on like the high school wrestling team or the college wrestling team. And if MMA is something that you fancy, its focus on top dominance and control makes it very easy to layer in strikes. So I mean, if you're really thinking about it, it's better for collegiate wrestling. It's catch wrestling, obviously. It's good for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu competitions and for MMA. So we're actually talking about like 4 different sports in one. The problem with catch wrestling is it just doesn't have like the marketing team that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu seems to have, right? Like Joe Rogan isn't into catch wrestling, and even the catch wrestlers that I do know that are popular enough to go on Joe Rogan's podcast, they seem a little timid to even talk about it because they don't want to anger people who are really into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, so kind of building off of that, he talks about like there's all these sports that catch wrestling can help you with. So besides catch wrestling, you can do very well, and especially nogi jiu-jitsu, you can do very well in MMA, etc. Right? But why don't we go ahead and tack on sumo wrestling to that? Right? So for a while, and actually it's still the case that sumo wrestling is actually dominated by Mongolian wrestlers. So a lot of Mongolians are in there. They're doing very well, and because like their country has a long history of wrestling, and it is really similar to sumo, right? It's a takedown sport that like the Mongolian wrestling. So they just happen to have a vest, like very basically they just have they basically have like short sleeves that you can grab onto. They don't really have a full-on vest like traditional Chinese wrestling that's kind of more popular in like the Beijing area where you have a full vest, right? But actually, just a side note that like China is a large country, just like the United States, so they have a wide variety of wrestling styles. So I've competed in the jacket wrestling, but I've also competed in the Yunnan, so like the southern wrestling that it's really close to Vietnam. So every once in a while, actually, I see like these Vietnamese wrestling, like so people in villages where they'll have all these people in the village, just like that. They'll have a local arena, and they'll have the people come out and like they're wrestling, and a lot of times they're betting and stuff. So it's just like a great time, especially like for the spring festivals and like the New Year stuff. So it's a big thing, and so there's so many different cultures in China that they have different wrestling styles, right? So, but with that being said, in Mongolia, they have a different wrestling style, and a lot of those Mongolians are just dominating in professional sumo in Japan. But now we're having a Ukrainian using the amateur wrestling, also dominating in sumo wrestling in Japan. So it'll be really interesting to see how how he does against like the Mongolians, which he's beaten Mongolians in pro sumo. So it's just really getting interesting here. So we got a question here. All right, from Claire Guo. Hi, Claire. So is it common for successful sumo wrestlers to have catch wrestling training? No, unfortunately, it is not. It is really sad that actually I didn't have the full clip from the Red Ranger, Big Bang Mike. He goes on, like his video actually is longer, and he mentions like that he realizes that authentic catch wrestling is rare. And so if you do have access to an authentic catch wrestling coach, then you really got to jump on it, right? You really got to jump on that opportunity. So I guess my point with Aonishiki is that look at how far he can go with amateur wrestling, right? He can get to the highest levels of sumo wrestling. Of course, he hasn't won the whole tournament, what they call like the Emperor's Cup, but that doesn't matter because like the that tournament is like the highest ranked people. So the winningest people in sumo do that tournament. It's like it's the top 5 ranks of pro wrestler or pro sumo wrestlers that are allowed to compete in that. So it's not just anyone. You have to really win a lot of matches regularly, and then you can qualify to compete at the highest level. And so, uh, so it's almost like going back to the Big Bang Mike. He's saying that it's like, just imagine like the catch wrestling base can help with all these other styles. So um, I think with sumo, because you totally could like they have slaps, they have elbow strikes. I think you can totally add some of the grips, like the arm grips, and because they do have what they call like arm bar throws and stuff. So you can be using a lot more locks, right? If you studied the catch wrestling, and then you apply it to sumo, then yeah, I think Aonishiki, he could totally benefit from learning catch wrestling. But that's just my opinion, right? So, but it'd be great if there was some way that he could train a little bit. But yeah, I'm sure he's just focused on getting better at his sport. So that's the only problem. Like sometimes when people kind of get locked in their thing, right? So like I've seen that when I've done seminars for freestyle wrestlers who are currently competing, like and then like for their national teams and stuff, then they don't really want to spend too much time training on like the joint locks and stuff because they're stuck at the moment in their sport, right? So they don't want to deviate too much from the rules. So I think what would be most beneficial is that if Aonishiki maybe can see what else he can add, because like using these knee block takedowns has been very successful for him. It'd be great to see if there's some other things that he can use in his other techniques that he can add to his repertoire of skills, right, of takedowns and ways of controlling people. So it'd be great to see if he can like become more varied or more like just more dynamic, I guess, or more unpredictable. That'd be great. But he's already a very, very strong wrestler, and it's taking him very far. So if anybody else has any questions, let me know. But let's go ahead and play the question one more time. So again, you're going to hear a voice. It's my voice, but I'm just reading the subtitles from the interview. So those of you who are listening, like on some podcast platform where you can't see the video, you'll know what he's talking about. Okay, here we go.
You have a strong judo background. How do your judo skills help your sumo?
I did judo a little bit when I was younger, but I did mostly wrestling. The wrestling techniques are coming in very handy. Hopefully in the sumo as well, but not really much of the judo.
Interesting.
I think their reaction is pretty funny. They not the answer we wanted, but whatever. Because actually, I'm just assuming that they're like wanting to hear, like, oh, my judo is my key to success. Because maybe the Sumo Kaboom, that's their channel. Definitely recommend going to check them out. Follow them or subscribe. But maybe they really wanted to hear more about like, oh, how judo did this and judo got me so far. But and that could be why they really didn't have a follow-up question, or they changed the subject after that. So but actually one other thing that came up that's pretty interesting, they asked him how he learned Japanese. So I think this is something that maybe like always like using analogies for language can kind of help with regards to understanding different styles of martial arts. So like they ask him, "Oh, how did you learn Japanese?" Because he's speaking in Japanese the whole time, and he's actually using a translator because he doesn't speak English, right? He's not from England; he's from Ukraine. So um, he says that as you learn, or Japanese was the hardest part of becoming good at sumo, like learning Japanese, because yeah, you have to learn it, and then um, but he says what really got him fluent was just talking, right? Just trying to use it, like speak it. So not just not just learning the written stuff, not just practicing the writing, not just kind of internalizing it. It's like you really have to speak it out, and that is a key to learning things. So with regards to sports, like say catch wrestling in particular, it's like say if you were to go into a catch wrestling class, you're going to want to try to do that sport, right? Actually, even one of my students, Juan, he is a high level judo black belt, and he kind of mentions it where he's an instructor at Hollywood Judo, which is one of our oldest judo schools in Los Angeles. And you get a bunch of people who do jujitsu or Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and then they'll want to learn some takedowns, but then when it's time to spar, then they just want to do jiu-jitsu, right? So in a way, that's actually kind of like rude, but it's also you're not learning judo, right? So if you go to learn any style, try to learn the style, right? So if you go to learn a language, try to learn the language, right? So I think that's one thing that can kind of um, or one kind of key that you can draw from Aonishiki talking about learning Japanese and becoming fluent is by actually like talking and using the spoken language, and that eventually got to where he actually has to only do an interview in Japanese, right? So that's actually pretty cool that he just really absorbed the language. But same thing with say like catch wrestling. Say if you come from a jujitsu background, you want to take a catch wrestling class, don't just be saying like, oh, well, in jujitsu we do this or in whatever we do that. And it's like, well, this is a different class, so why don't you just try to learn what we're doing and try to learn the game, right? So I thought maybe I'd throw that out there because like, a lot of people are trying to learn languages and stuff, and you can totally um, like take that advice about learning languages, but then also about learning different martial arts or different um, anything really. So, but if you're doing the catch wrestling, so say like in catch wrestling, it's much more wrestling oriented. So it's not like how I was talking about earlier, where John Danaher talks about like in jujitsu, uh, unconsciously you have two opponents agreeing to like one being they're both going to be facing each other, so like chest to chest or face to face, right? But one is going to be on top and one's going to be underneath, right? So with catch wrestling, that's not the case, right? So if there is someone on top, right, the person on bottom will probably not be facing you, right? If they face you, it'd probably be very temporarily facing you so that they can elevate you, right? So like using the butterfly guard, right, to destabilize you, throw you over. That's definitely part of wrestling. This is part of wrestling and definitely catch wrestling. But if they really shouldn't be lingering them much like that. They'd probably be like giving you their back, right? Because that's actually a better defensive position, just in general, right? Um, so then the game is different, right? So you can't just be like coming from a jujitsu background and thinking you just go and catch wrestling and then you can just do jujitsu. It's not the case. So, but like what Big Bang Mike was saying is like having that wrestling foundation can help you with these other sports. And then like how we're seeing with Aonishiki, they just asked him what is helping you dominate in sumo wrestling at the highest level in Japan. It was it the judo or the wrestling, and he's like, it's the wrestling. So if you take away anything from today's episode, it's just know that wrestling I think even amateur wrestling can really help to take you to the next level. And of course, there's a catch wrestling channel, so I'm going to be adding my 2 cents, where it's like catch wrestling can even take you even further. All right, so that's my opinion. So maybe that's where we'll end it today, I guess. If you have any questions, let me know right now. Type them out right now. But you can always come train with us. Fight Science MMA, Thursday nights, 8:30 p.m. UCLA is going to be starting up. I think I'm going to be doing a free seminar at UCLA on Monday night. Also, if you want to train with us online, you're not in LA, you're in another country, go to our website, catchwrestlingalliance.com. You can join the CWA Academy, or we have a bunch of one-off courses. And then if you want to just help us out without doing all of that, you can always just become a channel member on our YouTube channel. All of that's greatly appreciated. So with that being said, we're here to help you to wrestle better so that together we keep real wrestling alive. See you next time.